Welcome back to another Excel tutorial. Today I want to explore how to use the standard deviation function. This function in Excel calculates the standard deviation of a sample. Standard deviation is a measure of how spread out the numbers in a datasets are. In other words, it quantifies the amount of variation or dispersion of a set of values. A low standard deviation means that the values tend to be close to the mean, also called the expected value of the set, while a high standard deviation means that the values are spread out over a wider range. The standard deviation function belongs to the group of statistical functions within Excel and estimates standard deviation based on a sample. The standard deviation syntax starts by the first number and then the second number, and you can go on up to 256 numbers, and the explanation is number 1, number 2, etc. are the sample numbers for which you want the standard deviation. So I would say we just try out how the standard deviation works by an example. As always, we start with an equal sign, then we type in our function, and then we need to specify our numbers that we wanted to get the standard deviation from. For example, our sales. I hit enter, and you can see we get a relatively high standard deviation because the numbers are spread out widely. If I would, for example, just go for the values 100 and 200, we'll get a much smaller standard deviation because those numbers are more similar than 100 to 900, for example. We can do the same with the quantity. So we start by standard deviation, open parenthesis, then we mark our quantity, close the parenthesis, and we hit enter. And we get to a standard deviation of 2. That means that that the deviation is 2 from the mean. And what will happen if we have two same values? So for example, if I go for or let's say I go for F14 and I go for F10, which is also 2, I close the parenthesis, then I get to 0, and 0 means that all data points are identical and there's no deviation from the mean. So this would be a perfect deviation. And just to recap, so a small standard deviation means that if the standard deviation is small, then the data points tend to be close to the mean. In other words, most of the data points are very similar to the average value. For large standard deviation, there's greater variability or dispersion in the data, and the data points are on average farther from the mean. And this is basically all you have to know about the standard deviation function. I hope you liked this video. If you did like it, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and see you in the next video.